Good evening. We'll call to order tonight's council work session in-person meeting, Monday, November 7th, 2022. Would you do a call to order or roll call, please, Kristen?
Trustee Merrill. Trustee Holmes. President Pro Tem Keller.
Here.
Trustee Reister. Trustee Wagner.
Here.
Trustee Olson.
Here.
President Frisbee.
Here. All right, we'll just take a quick moment of silence to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll take a quick moment of silence and then we'll go over the scheduled appearances. We have an agenda in front of us tonight. Was there any changes, Mr. Mallory? Any additions?
Sir.
So we have an agenda in front of us. What's this council's desire?
Move to approve. Trustee Wagner, I support.
Motion made by trustee Wagner, support by trustee Keller, support by trustee Wagner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. We have an agenda. I don't believe there was any scheduled appearances on the agenda for tonight. Any public officials online that we need to bring in?
No, sir, nor any public participation at this time.
Seeing no citizens in the, we'll pass by the citizens' comments, just make you know that there is time in this meeting for citizens' comments if anyone would like to do so. And we have our favorite guy from McKenna in here tonight. Jim, if you want us to go ahead and just kick it off where we're at with master plan exercise with Kyle Mucha.
Yeah, I think it's important to note too, we'll be listing off public meetings for public input, and the first public input will be on November 16th at the clubhouse out on Centennial. There'll be additional meetings that public are invited to. They can participate in 1, 2, or all 3 at the Methodist Church, as well as out at Angels Crossing golf course, and everything will be posted on social media. But we'll turn it over to Kyle. This will be input from the council. The December Planning Commission meeting, the second Monday of December, will be the Planning Commission's formal work session during their meeting on the input. So.
Thank you again, council members, for having me here. This is to talk more about the master plan for the village. So our graphic team has made up a nice welcome sign tube that we will display at all of our public engagement events. Welcoming the public, like Mr. Mallory indicated, we'll have 3 sessions working through over the next few weeks for public and citizen engagement. We're looking forward to that. One option that we always typically do with our public engagements is an aerial map as well of the community that we're serving. And in this case, Village of Vicksburg, prime and center here. Red line faint is the denoted village limits as indicated by the state. That's where we pull that. The white is parcel boundaries, and the thicker white is the roadways as well. So we use this kind of also as what we call a kitchen table, in the sense that we'll get residents who like to gravitate towards the map of this and then point out where they live, what they like, what they don't like. So it's more of an informal option as well as that. What? Stand on the other side? Sure. So more front and center in front of the public? Yeah, more front and center. Sure. Questions on our aerial imagery from the group? Okay. Great. A few boards to go through tonight with you guys. All right. Oh, yeah. Our next engagement board that we like to do is what we call a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. This focuses in more on the downtown, so there will be a lot of public, hopefully we get some feedback from that. We'll see, I'm hoping, a lot of positive strengths with the new downtown as well. So Jim, if you don't mind handing out, I got some sticky notes I'd like to engage with some of the public on. Delegations. So if those staff and trustees don't mind, please fill out strengths. We'll talk about strengths real fast, weaknesses, opportunities, threats moving forward. So would you mind just sticky notes, just a pack to everyone? Thank you, Scott. Include staff as well too if they'd like to participate. So. These engagement boards will be all set up as a continuation at our public engagement events. Due to room size here, I did not want to stick all 6 of them up, get a little crowded, but all these will be displayed at once and not piece by piece as an open house. So I'd like to just take 2 minutes if we could and go over strengths of the downtown. Please feel free to write down your comments on that. This is a freestyle open house kind of invitation I have with you guys. So if you have strengths you like, we like to stick them up here and we like to fill the board if we can with our engagement. So. And we can discuss too while you're right, so it doesn't have to just be a solemn, quiet process. If you don't mind, yes, if we could keep it one, or I'll take them all, they all come together, it'd be great, so. But we have a lot of sticky notes too, so. So in this case, I'd like to focus in on just the strength. Let's kick it off strong with what's good for the downtown so far. Like me personally, I'm a fan of the new sidewalks, the new streetscapes down there. There's other items. Write them, talk about them. I mean, that's whatever you like to do. Yep. So my colleagues and I, when we do these engagement events, we'll be interacting with the public at large too. And so when we hear a positive, we'll put a sticky note up here and other options too. So.
That's Notre Dame. What do you expect?
Another strength I like to think of too for our downtown is the vistas of the different businesses. They all have their own unique character. New streetscapes. Mm-hmm. Keep writing, sir. That better be. So then at the end of every public engagement event we have, our team will take these notes and compile it and get it to Village Manager Mallory as an after-action report too, so that way he can share with council and other interested parties that he deems necessary of what feedback we got from that engagement event as well.
This is too early to ask this question, we can talk about it later, but I'm just curious, the online survey, good comments?
So far on that, I had our teammate pull their data about a week or so ago, and we were only at 23 responses. I did ask for it to be pulled again today. I don't think they were able to get to it because I wanted to have an update for you guys. But it was not there. Our intent is to also have some printouts of the survey links, so when people come to the public engagement houses, they can just snap their phone right there, and we can help showcase it that way. That link will be probably live for another month at least. But we have gotten some results, so I don't think as much as we were hoping for, but that's anticipated. So we'll really try to help kick that at the engagement events too.
Hey, Jim, do you know the surveys and is that being listed on our Facebook page, the village Facebook page?
It went out, yes, it will. It's just being finalized. I think the link came late last week. We were updating on that. So it'll end up with a QR code, plus it'll go out again at the January or December invoices for utilities. So there'll be another second page put with all utilities to specific resident, everyone who gets a utility bill will get it in that packet.
Thank you.
I see a lot of feverish writing going on. What's similar strength? I want to hear some of them.
Oh, you want to hear them?
I'd like to hear them. I mean, that's what we're here.
Would you like to just go right down the line? We'll start with Julie and move then all the way through to Denny.
No rush.
No pressure. I just wrote down the streetscape's amazing. It's easily walkable. There's a good variety of businesses. good core businesses, things that you need, you can get here. It's very safe and well lit. I mean, being me, I can walk around at midnight and nobody's bothering me too much. And I rarely have to shop outside of town. I mean, I really try and keep it local. And yeah, so that's strength. So.
Two different ones I have from Julie really is that the businesses are very engaged, a lot of energy, whether it's with the chamber or in just in events, they're always seem to be well out in front of activities, which is great. I think that's very helpful to have that leadership downtown. And I also think now that we're a destination community, it's clear that people from outside the community are coming. And so it's nice to have, I think, all of the friendly press and PR that we're getting out there about what's going on in Vicksburg.
Kind of ditto with them. The only thing I have different is the revitalized Oswald Park. I think that's brought a huge draw to the downtown area. And also to kind of dovetail on what Rick said, just the community with the downtown businesses. I mean, when Rise and Dine had their issue, you know, the community that reached out to them downtown and they're, you know, they got back on their feet. So that's huge. A lot of villages don't do that. A lot of downtowns don't do that. So just with them working with each other, I thought was really awesome to see.
National Historic District recognition. That's a huge one, and local parks. That's good.
I put down bakery, new businesses, streetscapes, Oswald Park, and friendly atmosphere.
Streetscapes, ease of walkability, abundant parking, creative and engaged businesses, accessible, inviting atmosphere, welcoming.
Variety of businesses, new sidewalks and parking, and the ability to attract people downtown for special events. Seems like people like to come down for the farmer's market or the food wagons or food trucks, yeah.
Yep, so I think you guys can kind of see how this board's intended, right? Like, we want to get that feedback. We want to have it plastered here. Just because I do have other boards, for in sake of your guys' time too, when I talk about weaknesses, I'd like to see, like, you know, I don't want to, we try to engage with residents, so it's not like a DPW doesn't plow the sidewalk, you know, or I got this complaint. We want to see more of the, like, hey, there's only like 4 food options in downtown, and while I love all 4 of them, more variety would be nice. So those kind of weaknesses that we can still spin it to a positive, but it's not a, you know, criticism into that regard. So in weaknesses, that's what we try to help engage with on that, of how do we turn that into a strength or opportunity for us as well. So as you think about that, and then on weaknesses and then opportunities, kind of piggybacks on that too. What other opportunities do we have? Like, I look at the facade grant we have downtown. That's an opportunity for a new business, right, to change that up. The recent connections for fire safety that the village was able to help secure, that's an opportunity. And then threats are more like if Stryker comes into Portage and that, you know, they pull industrial jobs from the village when others are trying to expand theirs. Is that a threat because you have development elsewhere? So we try to look at the more big picture item on those, and not like hey, Sunset Lake's polluted, that's a threat for us, or something ridiculous like that. So, and again, for just sake of time, if anyone has to share one of their 3 things on that, I'll move on. So, but please, would still like your collection of ideas on these. So, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, whichever 3s you'd like.
For the weaknesses, one of the things, since Hills closed downtown, find it difficult to go and quickly find little gifts that I want to get for people. So I would like to see something like that come back into town, where we can go in and just pick up a little something easily. Now I'm kind of going to like Westlake Drug for that kind of thing. So I would love to see that come back into town.
And that's the kind of feedback we try to elicit too with like this. So it's a positive spin and then get their residents' ideas as well, so.
We definitely have limited downtown space for future businesses.
One of the things I had was underutilized commercial space that's down there and gated storefronts.
I had put down, more variety for fast type food. I think we only have one or two downtown. Also, to kind of tag on to Gail, a card shop, you know, a greeting card. I mean, the only option we have now is to go to Family Fair. Nothing wrong with that, but
Nobody's limited.
it's very limited. So, I had to get a birthday card for my niece a couple of months ago, and it was very difficult.
I was just gonna say, like downtown, one of the weaknesses I see is like, say you wanna have these amazing storefronts and stuff, it's really hard, I think, still to get, any kind of commercial lending. Like if you wanna upgrade a building, so like you see a cool building, but it needs a lot. And I know we're doing some of that through the DDA and the Planning Commission, I know we're working on it. And also, if you have a startup idea and stuff, it's like, maybe we have some of these fronts, they could be the incubator, like this little incubator spot. So, and I think you guys at the mill have done a good job of that. So, I mean, that's a lot for you guys to carry. So I don't know how we can share the burden, but also more local usage. Because like when I was in Ann Arbor, they really stressed in their local media how important it is to spend your money in the place you live. And how, like, people come in asking the store owner per donation, and, you know, I'd love to give you some money, but I need more profit to be so generous. So that's it.
Any others for the downtown area?
The empty storefronts bother me, and they have for a while. But one of the things that we ran into a few years ago, I had some friends that wanted to open business, and they were looking at Schoolcraft in Vicksburg and that. And one of the things that shocked them was the high rent. We're not Portage. We can't demand that kind of rent. But there was talk a couple of years ago about a program to subsidize rent to get starter businesses up and going. And I think that's about as far as it went. But I think that's something that we maybe should take a look at again, so.
Any other comments for the downtown area? All right. And then later, if you guys could put your sticky notes up on the board for me, that'd be great. Kind of picking back off of our downtown as well. We also do a board that we call Fix. What would you like to see, within the township improvements on? So this could be sidewalk extensions, could be sidewalk replacement. We try to, again, keep it broad so it's not any dive on a specific issue, but more of just a broad picture of village or community-wide thing that we'd like to fix.
So like maybe the continuation of facade improvement in the buildings downtown? That's what I would like to see. I'd like to see them continue to improve the facade of all of the buildings down there so that so it's cohesive and really is interesting and takes us back maybe into the era that it was put up, and yet still have newer things coming too. But I would like to see that happen.
I know when I walked the downtown area this summer, there was some properties that had well-maintained sidewalks and others that could use some love, we'll say. So that would be something personally as a resident I'd like to, move forward with of how can we engage the residents to help improve sidewalks, to make them a little bit more user-friendly as well.
I think, again, I'll focus on the commercial aspects of downtown. The green space that is around Family Fair, I think it's a great area for some type of development. There's a lot of space there. And I would say the expansion of downtown on North Main Street would be, I think, a great opportunity for Vicksburg to expand its commercial base.
I'll say ditto to that, Rick.
So same thing, if you have ideas, please, for our Fix-It board, put them on maybe a separate sticky note, so when I leave tonight, I can post all these up here and so as we work. So the Fix board is not something as consultants we like to spend a lot of time on with residents. We definitely want to hear concerns, but we want to focus on more the vision of the community we're working in and not what all the concerns are. Some residents don't feel that way, but we still give them their voice. We still engage with them. We still want to hear from them on that. We try to turn it into a positive aspect with it being an open house. So,
Kyle, we have so many parks as well that it would be great if, when we go through this with the community, that if we could find out what do they want, from the parks, what do they want from the trails, what activities do they want? We do so much for them. What do they like? What do they not like? I think that's what's really, what I'm looking at this, it's going to be really interesting to see, because I really think that that's one of the shining things about Vicksburg is that we have invested so much in our parks and recs.
yep, and our discussions can be tailored to that as well. With it, we try to keep these open-ended enough so that if a resident or interested party does come in and say, I love the parks, but there's no programs for there, we can put that up on a Fix, more park programs. So it's broad enough in that regard.
Would, under the Fix, would that be a continuation of the trail?
Could be. I mean, we really try not to turn any ideas away. So,
And I know as part of that with the Fix, we've started a tree program with the village, looking at identifying trees that maybe need to go, that are old and have problems, and then putting in new trees so they'll have new growth that will build back up areas that, as I said before, where I lived, when I moved in, the street was lined with trees. It was awesome, and now it's fairly barren. A lot of it due to being older trees, older neighborhood, but also, as you said, with sidewalks, working with the outlying areas. We have beautiful sidewalks downtown, some others in the village, not so much. So that'd be a fixed thing, I would think.
and that too will also help reduce our urban heat island as well. We get some more trees in there. It'll help lower the temperature of the area as well. So that also comes to some of our resilience planning too in our master plan. So that'll tie it together well. Yeah. Another engagement board we like is housing types. These are not in our community per se, but they try to showcase the style of housing. So I have some other dots here we're going to get out, and what we'll do at public engagement events is we ask residents and participants to put a dot next to what type of housing they like. This type, attached condos, seniors, or more multifamily dwellings, small scale, small lot. Regular, this might be a multifamily home, but more of a duplex. Down here is more like the Centennial neighborhood, the Prairie neighborhood as well. We have small homes along with a courtyard in the front, kind of more like a bungalow style, smaller scale. Large home, large lot. So we ask residents to stick what kind of, if new housing were to come into a community, what type do they prefer? Or what would they like to see more of? And this is also, I believe, a survey question we have on there too. So food for thought later as we move on to the boards. I'll give you some different stickies and you can tack up what you'd like. Some residents they like all of it and they just stick a sticker on everything. And some are just like, I do not like this at all. I do not want some 800 unit complex. And so we'll put a little Post-it note next to it. No. So we try to engage with residents in that regard too. So, and we find this to be a nice engagement board too. Residents like to kind of gravitate to this and then ask questions about it. So Another board we like is Aspire. What do you want to see more of in the village? What's your vision? More parks, more trees, more sidewalks, less cars. Mackenzie's Bakery to be open on a Sunday.
Let's say more foot traffic, more engagement, more people being downtown. Like I remember when I was a kid in the 70s and 80s, you know, back to school shopping was done downtown. And, you know, I think when you talk with people, and sometimes when someone will say, well, I don't want change, and I'll say, well, what change are you talking about? What you find out is that most people go back to that moment, that time where they really enjoyed something. And even though it may have changed over time, that's kind of how they're still viewing the area, because it's what they remember. And I think if somehow the community could become that again, that warm, inviting downtown, I think that would really bring a lot to the community.
Well, because we've also transitioned over the last 30 years where, yeah, local downtowns with school shopping or Christmas shopping was a big thing. And then the malls became the place to go. Everybody went to the malls. Well, now the malls are pretty much no longer. I don't think I've been in a mall in probably almost 10 years. And so.
That's why they're dying.
They need you.
So we're moving back to local. Yes, we still have the Amazons out there, whatever, but you also have local shops that, you know, if we can aspire to really bring that home, so to speak, it'll make it back to, you know, people don't want change, but yet we're kind of changing back to what it was 30 years ago.
I actually really concur with that. I think that is an excellent idea to try to get that feeling of cohesiveness, togetherness. And like, I do most of my shopping right here in town, at Family Fair. Now, granted, I'm only buying for one person, but if we don't use these places, they're going to die. And so it's important for us to support the businesses in our community as much as we can. And that's why I don't want to have to go to Westlake Drug to find things. I want to find it here, but I can't right now. So.
I can't help but just wanted to follow up on the two comments, because I really love what we're talking about. Because think about this, when someone thinks Detroit, what do you think of? Do you think of the suburbs? Think of Royal Oak? No, you think of downtown. You think of, you know, of Joe Louis Arena or whatever it is to you. And I think that's why our downtown is so important to us. And if you drive around the Midwest and communities our size, their best commercial days are behind them. And we have that opportunity at this point to really do something fairly unique here with what's going on in our community. And that's why I think that the discussion we're having is so important, because it really, I think, brings such a focus within the community, and it brings a very vibrant, engaged, you know, residents of the community out. And we see that with the food trucks, right? And all the different events that we have. And it's kind of exciting to imagine what it would be like. I just go back, Danny, to what it was like when we were kids, you know? I mean, my parents didn't take me to Myers. That was where the rich people shop. We went downtown to the T-shirt store and Dancers, you know, but it would be great if we could get back to that a little bit.
We try to use the Aspire report too for like your vision of the community as well. So a lot of that feedback is helpful, but what else do you aspire Vicksburg to be? I mean, we've gotten the Magic Shop, right? They came in recently. So what's drawing them in? So that's also what we want to hear from them on is, you know, what did they see potential wise, and how do we build on that?
Well, I know one thing that Rick did share with me from Fab Magic is what brought him here was the ability of the village and the people running it, the people involved to get involved and bring in new business and support them and bring it out to the community and get them engaged in everything. So I think that's what's really inviting for us, is that we're willing to bring in people and we're willing to help them out, make a home for themselves and give them a spot to really exist. So that's kind of nice. And that's not something you see everyone doing. You're either getting bigger or you're getting smaller, and we're not, you know, I'd like us to be in, in the first column.
Well, Trustee Wagner, I'll say this too. I know when our family's gone to engagement events downtown, it's great to see village staff out there participating in it. It's great to see like our police department out there actively engaging with the residents and the citizens as well, and not just sitting in a patrol car. So it's a big kudos to them as well, but that we do have that village staff engagement. So. And then the last board I have, and then we can circle back to anything else, is and I'll leave it down there, but is keep. What aspects of the village do you like that you wouldn't change? That they're fine just the way they are, you know? Me now would be the streetscapes along, you know, Main and Prairie. They're wonderful, you know, I feel safe walking down them. They got great lighting. They're well maintained.
Well, I definitely want to keep the small town atmosphere. I want to see us grow, but I also don't want to lose that. That to me is important. So however we want to do that, but I think it's really important not to lose that. Because a lot of times I'll say, only in a small town can you do this, you know, when we're doing things. But that's really true. If you get beyond that, then you can't do it anymore. So I don't want to see that happen.
You know, Galen, onto that point, I think one of the things and the strengths that we have is that we can be picky and choosy in who we bring into our community. So we're only bringing in the people that are going to foster that small community, that dedication to your neighbors, that sense of social living. I mean, it's a contract we all have when we're in a community like this. So we get to pick and choose those people we bring into this area by who we're recruiting for business, who we're recruiting for enhancing schools or adding residents and things like that. We can target and be really intentional about that.
One thing I wrote down is that Mayberry feel. People are here because they want Mayberry. And I'm sorry, but Scott, you're Sheriff Andy Taylor, so.
If I could, Gail, I think your comments resonate with me so well because how I look at our community is simply this, and that is, and you may have heard me say this, and that is it's either turning agricultural land into housing developments or we develop that downtown. We look at our industrial park and we put every square inch we can in them and we find every commercial space, we fill it because then our tax base increases and then we share then the expense of running the village and then we can create an environment. And that's what I aspire this to be is a community where people can afford to live. I would like to see to continue to have a very diverse population where we have, you know, people that are various occupations that live here that are neighbors with one another. That's the way we've always been. And I'm a little concerned when I see property values going the way that they are. But then again, you know, I think that reflects upon, you know, the community and what we're doing. But again, I think that if we can fill those shops, expand upon the existing commercial space that we've got, then we can increase that tax base, and that's really going to help everybody.
I also don't want to lose all of the farmland. To me, that is
Agreed.
extremely important. And so, like when I drive out of Portage and come down this way, and then you begin to see some open land, you begin to see lots of trees. I would be devastated if we just wiped it all out with buildings and things like that. That would be, I'd have to move.
Another thing we need to keep is our older population and try and keep them in place. There's nothing for them. So they're staying in these houses that don't suit them any longer, and things like that. So when we look at housing, something that's more ADA compliant, things like that in the future. Because when your older people move out of here, they take all their money and they're probably better off than most people here in town. So it's good to kind of keep them here. So right now we don't have a good way of doing that.
I go along with that 100%, you know, because we were working on senior housing here. And I'm in the senior formula right now. And so I've had several of my friends who wanted to stay here, but could not. So they had to move into Portage. And we worked very, very hard on that. and we just could not get it going. So I would like to see that, I aspire for that, because there's gonna be a day when I cannot live in my house anymore. And I don't wanna leave Vicksburg, but I would have to right now. Thank you for bringing that up.
Mr. President, there's some wheels turning. I can see.
They're all running for reelection, so.
Oh,
I'm gonna let them talk.
I'm talking more than anybody.
I thought it was getting a little frosty in here, but I thought it was you. I didn't know it was him. that
I'm
said
just
it.
giving you an opportunity to speak.
Nobody's watching right now anyway, so, you know.
Well, now that you brought it up, Tim.
The last I looked, there was 6 or 7 on YouTube watching.
I apologize.
No, this is good, right? This is gonna go out through the community. Everyone's gonna have the same opportunity to engage like this, and the information to come back, I think it's gonna be resoundingly, your sentiments here tonight, I think we'll find are pretty consistent through the communities.
One other thing I can say is that I work out every morning, and I have 2 gentlemen who come in, and they're in their late 80s. And one of them in particular is really set. And anytime that we try to do something new, there's always something wrong with it. So we're dealing with that too. You know, trying to help these people see how important that is to make that change. So I try to do that when I'm working out with them.
Jim, is it possible when Kyle has these community meetings, is staff planning on being at those as well, or no?
Staff will not be due to experience of people are more free to be open, but council members are encouraged to attend.
Well,
Just council members will be encouraged to not sit in a quorum, that the meeting is for public input, but we will probably arrange where President Frisbee, or if he can't make another council, does the introduction of McKenna. But staff will, this is for public and the council, and then out of this, we'll have a master plan eventually by the spring of 2023 that'll give staff the guidance of what is to be accomplished.
That's where I was going with this, was whether members of the council would be able to attend these to at least.
Correct.
Help
And
foster.
Kyle and I have spoke about this. It will, and he's aware, being local, that's a added bonus to this, to make sure people aren't sitting in a quorum fashion and that type. So,
No, we welcome all public participation, whether it be boards, councils, anything like that. We find from some of our engagement events we've done, we've had residents who are perturbed, we'll say, that nobody from council or boards showed up for public engagement. So it shows that they don't care. And then we've had others who say that they like it because, as Village Manager Mallory said, it allows more of an open and free atmosphere. They don't feel like they have to be on stage with the members. I feel like from our experience though with this community, with how much everyone knows each other around here, it can be a benefit. Obviously, we leave that up to Village Manager Mallory and your guys' discretion, but we welcome anyone who would like to attend, for sure.
Any questions for Kyle or thoughts?
do we have more boards or?
No, the only other one I didn't show was just the Keep board, and I didn't want to keep popping that up. The other board is the aerial, so that is what we have.
Do we have the housing one we've?
Housing one we can pass around, and you guys can put some
If
stickers on there.
we
for
do have time right now, 6 or 7 minutes on also the availability and council's thoughts on, we heard about senior living and that, but housing units, affordable living. We do have land currently within the Vicksburg Village jurisdictional limits that can be developed. So you have R1, R2, your residential opportunities that have those, if you want to facilitate a few of these minutes on that topic. to solicit your thoughts as we venture on. We'll also be following up with this through what is at the 7 o'clock council meeting where staff's recommending the strategic plan being developed. That is not a one type meeting, but a full 12 to 15 month engagement with the next council where these will deeper dive into each of these subject matters.
Well, one of the things I think now that this has been presented to us, we'll have an opportunity on our own to think this through. And then if we do go to some of those meetings, we can at least listen and see what other people are saying. But this gives me an opportunity to start thinking about this now. And I do a better job if I have some time to think it through, so, thank you.
Yeah, good points, and also everyone will be encouraged to fill out a survey, and we'll probably have some internal survey documentation that we send out in what we call internal stakeholders and external stakeholders to solicit that data as well as we go through here, and we'll evaluate the public participation in these 3 meetings, and if we have to do a adjustment with McKenna, we've had that talk, so we certainly can do change orders to ensure that we're getting public participation in what is conceivably for certain the next 5 years and predictably the next 10 years, the guiding document for Vicksburg government to operate.
So then Gail, on that too, kind of back to Aspire, I remember when Bronson had an ER down here years and years ago, and if a family member got injured, you're not going downtown because you know it's going to be a wait. So we come down to Vicksburg because you're almost right in. So for me, I'd like to aspire to see something more urgent care come in or something along that nature.
I forgot,
So-
see, that's it. I thought of that, but I wasn't thinking about it now, but definitely.
And just for council's benefit as well, part of the master plan scope that we have is to also do kind of a small pseudo housing study. So a colleague of mine will kind of be able to dive into what is existing and what the infrastructure looks like for additional expansion. So there are some of those background technical aspects that we are taking care of as well. So
Gail, I'd like to know what kind of senior housing you guys have discussed in the past. Are you looking at an apartment building, or are you looking at something like what's around the corner here on V Avenue?
Well, we were looking at when the hospital was still here. And we knew that they were wanting to sell it and so forth. So that was one of the things that we were thinking, that the hospital could have been made into even like a nursing facility. And then the property behind it, we could build assisted living space. That's what I would like to see, is a nice assisted living. That's what I would like to see.
My father-in-law's in assisted living right now in Coloma, and it's a beautiful facility.
Yeah, and they make
And,
them
yeah.
very nice.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was hoping to see, and I think Julie was too when we were working on it. And we worked really hard on it. Bill worked very hard on it too, but it just didn't come to fruition. And one of the things that the problem we had was that we had a survey done, and then they said that we didn't need it.
Mm.
And so that was very disappointing. So,
Well, I haven't hit the lottery yet, so when I do, I'll let you know.
another aspect we could look at potentially as well, or even based on the directions we get from residents is, I mean, I'm not at the age yet where I got to worry about that timeline, but even something like a bungalow court that would permit semi-assisted living, where I could still have my own place, I share it with a community with others, but there's still maybe an on-site. So that would also come into like development patterns, and that's a different discussion. But those are kind of something else we can aspire to in our vision for the village. So instead of maybe turning it into this multi-story
that's not what I'm
building, we look into more of a, how do we get like a community garden that you can go out there and, you know, relax in as you engage with others of your age in a smaller knit setting.
Just go behind him.
Yeah.
I think a lot of council members know housing is a big issue. It's kind of the attainable housing is the key these days.
Everywhere.
I know when we moved to Vicksburg in 2015, it was around 150,000 for the home, and Now in our neighborhood, if anything's under 3, I'm amazed. So
Kyle, I'm just curious, just a question here. I'm not, and then by the way, I'm not saying we should do this. I'm just curious. From your experience, are there any communities out there that are limiting the number of rentals that can be in a community to try to establish more of a home ownership? Realizing a massive problem in America today is that there's corporate rental companies that are buying up properties, including in Florida right now with the devastation with Hurricane Ian down there. I'm just curious if there's anything on that you can say.
there are communities that have provisions for rentals. I'm not versed in that well, Mr. Rick. But there are communities that have like rental registration, rental guidelines. And I believe, I want to say Holland comes to mind, but that's probably wrong. But there are, you could probably check Ann Arbor, see what they have. They have a program through U of M, I believe, that would offer college-age students to be able to live with a family or so, work with them on like household chores in lieu of rent or lower rent as well. So, yep. So they wouldn't do medical care, but they would do general chores. They'd live with them, maintain lawns, other just general household item things while they're going to school. And then that way the older couple potentially has still engagement with them and they're not letting this big house go to ruin.
I think in years past, they used to call that having kids, wasn't it? You would,
Yeah, but they leave.
We have about 4 or 5 minutes on the work session. If maybe you want to get final thoughts from the council on their thoughts of the master plan as well, offer them that opportunity. And
I'll echo what Village Manager Mallory just said.
Got some final thoughts at the end?
Well,
Mr.
I
Wilson?
agree with a lot that's been said, but my main concern, it has been and will be for quite a while, is the blight. And since I came on the council, it seems like I notice it a lot more. So, I'm guilty. I haven't mowed my front yard in probably a month and a half, but it hasn't grown much either. So, but yeah, it's amazing the things that you really start to see that other people don't, like that boat. Yeah, Tim knows what I'm talking about. Okay.
So then Denny, and for the council as well, where when we get those kind of concerns, we might put that under fix on a public engagement board and just say they'd like to see more active code enforcement or further review of blight ordinances. So we'll take that and shift it to other things. So.
Well, and comments to echo what Rick has brought up. It's something that the board and the Centennial Neighborhood Organization has been recently discussing was rentals, the impact on home ownership, on pride of community and your sense of belonging and all those things. And what does that really do an impact to the people, not necessarily doing the renting, but the people around them and how that cascades into the community at large. So I think that'd be something really interesting if we've got the ability to look into what mechanisms we might have and, what are appropriate, percentages of rentals or densities and things like that, or if it's anything we can even put a hand on. But I think it'd be an interesting concept to look through.
Judy?
I was just gonna say, if there was some kind of senior housing that's ADA compliant, people would vacate the big barn houses that they don't need, but they don't have a place to go. And so, if there was kind of set up where what they do in your neighborhood, they have these common spaces, it's a good use of land. They have it maintained by somebody else so that the seniors don't have to do the work of it. I think that would make good sense. Also downtown, we have all kinds of area above the businesses that if those were made into housing, and this comes down to financing. The financing is really hard. But then when you get people living up above these businesses, they are your most loyal customers and your best citizens. So that's it.
Mr. Holmes?
I don't want to
sway the voters that might be listening right now.
This is your time.
Smooth talker.
Just the final thought that I have is, first and foremost, I just was sitting here and I was thinking about this. Do you think 5, 6 years ago we'd be having this conversation? I mean, think about where we're at, where we've evolved and where we're going to be in 2, 5, 10 years from now. And that's the exciting thing to me. And that's why I think this is so important that so many more, that we get as many people as possible to participate in this, because this is your chance. If you want what you want to see in your community, this is your chance. And I just appreciate the opportunity to participate. Thanks, Kyle.
Well, I was on the planning commission when we did the last master plan, so, a lot of the things that we worked on back then have come to fruition for the most part, the last 5+ years. And I do appreciate what you guys have done, with the presentation and what you're looking at, and really striving to get the community involved, because as Trustee Holmes said, you know, where does this village want to go? Where does the residents want to go? You know, if they don't speak up, then it's going to be done for them, and we don't want that. We want everybody involved, so, thank you.
It's gonna be a long process. I said you were involved with it, I was involved with it. It's a really rewarding process, but there are gonna be hurdles, right? There's gonna be financing hurdles. You say it right now, about the upstairs units, you know, it takes money. It takes money to invest in retirement communities. It takes investors. So if we have a vision, we were doing good things, hopefully that will encourage those investors to come our way. But ultimately, it's up to us and the people that we know to engage with them, to encourage them to build here and to do it the way this community thinks is the direction they want to go. So, you know, once we establish this, it's not over, right? There's a lot more work to do, so. And I'm excited to go for it and to make this happen, so I appreciate it.
Thank you for your.
Kyle, and I'm really glad to see you leading this. We all know you and feel comfortable with you, and I think that's what led us all to go with McKenna. So we appreciate it. Look forward to it. Right ahead, sir.
Jim, one of the things that I'm just curious to know, and that is from your perspective, when you look at what our previous plans were versus some of the things we've accomplished over the years, how often do they come from those plans that we set out, versus something that just comes out of the blue or organic? I'm just
No,
curious.
it's a clear and convincing amount, over 75% for sure. There might be items that I would say get more into the weeds that still anchor back into one of the plans. But the budget presentation, I try each year to document the specific section of a master plan or a DDA plan that it comes from. Now, within the needs, wants, and wishes, I'm trying to think of an example that might not have been associated, because a lot of the master plan might be generic, improvement of streetscapes and park beautification. So it's anchored in on the specifics of the needs and wants and wishes. But for me, it is the document I use to present to the council.
Less than 10 minutes to complete. I've already done it myself just to make sure it actually worked on the phone.
And
So-
Kyle, can you confirm that at the public meetings, we're gonna have a board where people can use their smartphones and take a picture of the QR code or whatever, brings the QR code, takes you right to the survey because of the
I'll
amount
have
page.
printouts or some type of engagement that way to place as well for
Fan-
survey.
Fantastic. And we don't have anyone online for public comments, and I have talked to the people in the room that did not wish to speak during this meeting, so
All right.
the meeting to conclude would be yours, Mr.
Go through
Frisbee.
that. I think we've all had an opportunity to speak, so I won't go through it again. So I entertain a motion to adjourn for the next few minutes.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned and supported by Mr. Keller.